Hello, Pleasuristas, and welcome back to another episode of the show. I'm going to be breaking down the codes of codependency so that we can rewire and recode ourselves with the codes of sovereignty, security, confidence, and secure attachment so that as we date and relate, we are operating from a very different place than we have ever known ourselves to be before. This episode is all about dating and relating differently, my loves. And this episode is about helping to initiate you, give you some tools, give you some insight in how to enter into a new paradigm of love and intimacy so that you can choose, especially as a woman, to date from your feminine pole versus how most of us are taught to date as women from our masculine pole. This is about stepping into and leaning back into the receivership position, which creates opportunities to receive greatly. Let's dive into this episode that's got massive codes for you to unravel and activate inside of you. So, I want to bring this episode to you because I've had many conversations with my clients over the past 2 months, and the theme has been about breaking codependency. Whether you identify as someone who has codependent tendencies or not, you may not even be aware that there are subtle ways that you could be behaving and acting, and more importantly, relating and dating from a place of codependency. Oftentimes, women are working around in the world and we seem very empowered. We've got the badass boss babe attitude. We've got people doing what we need them to do. We are taking on empires. We are building empires. We are navigating so many different things within the world, whether it's in our own entrepreneurship, our creative endeavors, businesses, or within organization. We have really stepped up as leaders in that role, and therefore puts us in a role of more masculine energy, which is direct focus, and more of a penetrative energy, which is beautiful because truly the evolutionary aim here is to be balanced in our masculine and our feminine energies. However, this does not show up well when it comes to dating and relating from the feminine because it creates a repulsion of energy and in fact creates an opposite response of what we're wanting. And then what does that do? It triggers these old wounds of codependency, or it can develop these wounds of codependency. How this shows up is when it comes to dating and relating outside of the workspace, but when it comes to the opposite sex, this I find again, you can be so powerful in so many areas of your life, but yet when it comes to dating, is where we drop the power and where we drop the ball and where the subtle cues of codependency codes come alive because parts of us feel undesirable, parts of us feel wounded, unlovable. And so these parts kick into place. And when they kick into place, the way that we've coded our nervous system is to act from this wounded, insecure place. Therefore, we're going to develop an attachment in the dating game to someone that we maybe haven't even met on an app. And yet we're attached and fixated on a story and a possibility of what could be without actually relating in a new way from a secured attachment. And therefore can find ourselves in the same sad old story and dance of codependency. When we tend to put the person first, their needs, their desires, what they're thinking before we've even established relationship agreements, before we've even established if we're dating or even in a relationship, women will tend to, because of our nurturing nature, focus upon the other person. We'll love them more than we'll love ourselves. And that's a huge key of codependency. There's a really great book called Codependency No More. When I started my personal journey of unraveling this codependency code that I was aware of over 10 years ago, it was because I found myself in a series of continued repeated pattern of dating men that would bring up these insecure attachment styles that I had. But not only that, I was then continuously showing up in these ways of codependency. For example, putting aside plans with my girlfriends so that I can make time to see him as a priority. Case in point, putting aside my goals, my list of things that I need to do for myself as a top priority in order to do the laundry or do the shopping or see how I can help him or see how I can support him. Not having enough boundaries around what my desires are. And that came from a place of not valuing my desires, not valuing my goals, my wants at the same level that I would, and essentially put his desires, his goals on a pedestal over mine. And that was because there's a deep part of me that, one, thought that that was the way, two, that had seen that modeled from my mother, three, didn't know how to unravel it or recognize that this was actually something that was creating codependency. So I wasn't aware of it. There wasn't any awareness around it. Now, these codes may turn up in your life if you've ever been cheated on by a man, if you've ever been ghosted on by a guy, if you have snooped or looked at someone's phone or journal, or if you find yourself as a doormat in a relationship, even in friendships, but I'm looking in the context of dating differently. If you just allow the other person to continuously treat you the way that they want to treat you, and if you just receive that treating as the standard for yourself, then that's going to continuously put you in a position where you are in a lower or less than, which means that your continued dating pattern is going to be one of inadequacy. It's going to be one of codependency, where you're trying to gain worthiness, you're trying to gain your value, you're trying to gain something, gain love from someone outside of you, which is usually the object of your desire or infatuation. This also shows up in dating on the apps. When you're dating, how are you flirting? How are you relating? Are you noticing that you're anxious and you're worried, wondering, oh my God, is that person going to message me back on the app? You're checking your phone consistently. There's a nervousness or an anxiety behind it. That piece is something to be aware of, because that shows that you are not in a secure attachment to yourself. That's a telltale sign that your nervous system is actively triggered by needing something, thinking you're going to gain something from this outside source, instead of just doing it for fun, enjoying it, being along for the ride. But notice the parts that maybe are also posturing or positioning yourself so that you look good on the dating apps, so that you don't look bad, right? It sounds so silly, but it's very true, especially in social media and in all the apps. We can present and posture ourselves in the best position and light possible. However, does that truly create a deep level of intimacy? Majority of the time, if not every single time, the answer is no. Because then we're presenting this image, this vibe that then we deem as lovable, and hide the other parts of us that we judge as unlovable. So therefore, if we decide to date someone, and I've talked about this in previous episodes when I said I used to date, all of these international supermodels, and I would gain value from myself or perceived value by dating these really attractive, in my perspective, high value, high quality men based on their looks and their appearance or their careers and their job titles. That again was coming from a deep place of my own insecurity, of a codependency that I would gain something by dating, by having this type of partner. Now I look good. Now I'm valuable based on their status or their posture or positioning in the world, because then that was feeding the story that there was something inside of me that if I was chosen in this way, then now I'm desirable. But there was still an insecurity narrative that I didn't believe that I was desirable unless I won the trophy guy. And this goes vice versa for men and women. It comes from the insecure part of us that wants to look really good, that wants people to believe that we're super desirable based on looks, positioning, and posturing. And what I'm telling you, my loves, from real life experience, that we can project an image all day long that we are so happy on social media or that we're in the best relationships all day long. But that positioning and that posturing won't actually get you the quality and the fulfillment of the relationship that you truly desire, that I know you all want. And for me, it was the younger part of me that didn't feel desired, that felt ashamed, that felt bullied, that felt made fun of when I was younger. And there's usually a part of you that is carrying some of that shame or guilt, or a part of you that feels unworthy or undesired for that level of love that we carry around and are stored in our nervous system, that we don't actually allow ourselves to be super real. So if we're not being real with ourselves and experiencing the fullness of who we are, then no one can experience the fullness of who we are because we're hiding ourselves. And then we're pedestalizing the other person. And so, one of the key things for me, and this is the key that I'm going to share for you, the key to unlocking a shift in dating is a simple affirmation, but very, I don't want to say challenging, but for me, it was very challenging to apply, which is this: I am my first and best choice. Shifting from an idea of needing to get something outside and looking at the other person as the prize, as the best and first choice. Ooh, they're the best and first choice. Ooh, they've got exactly what it is that they want, right? They've got all the things on the list that look really good that I think that I really want. And so just notice, dating or relating from that way isn't showing up in a way of giving to a dynamic. It's showing up in a way of taking or needing from a dynamic, needing them to tick these boxes, needing them to look a certain way, needing them to show up in a way that's going to fuel the parts of you that you don't got to look at, that you feel insecure about, because it ticks these boxes. Therefore, why do the radical responsible thing and put yourself first, choose yourself first, your desires, your goals, your own inner work, in order to become your best first choice, because it's easier to look on the outside. Now, this piece of advice that I'm giving you means that it's going to ask you to be aware of the standards that you have for yourself. And you may think to me, oh, Josephina, pussy priestess, I've got standards, but I think they're kind of high. We'll take inventory. You may have really high standards for your diet, for your health, for your fitness, for your work, for your money. But do you truly have high standards, or you're even aware of the standards that you have when it comes to dating? Because I will tell you, a majority of the women that I work with who are very high powered, who are in their power, do not have high standards in relationship, or aren't even aware of what standards they have in their relationships, or what they even desire in their relationships, which are reflected then in their lack of high quality standards. Therefore, continuously choose the same type of partner over and over and over again, ignoring the red flags, ignoring the orange flags, ignoring the fact that they are putting them on a pedestal and doing the same thing and dropping themselves and dropping their power in order to get something, which is the prize of the partnership, to look good, to feel good, to satiate a part of them that feels empty, that doesn't know any other way to navigate this. So really tune into what I'm communicating here, because it's about setting a higher standard for yourself, and maybe even like you've never set before, raising it to one that elevates you to being the prize. And this is not from a place of ego. This is from a deep rooted place of self-love, of respect, of receiving yourself, of declaring that your desires, your goals, your energy as a resource is super valuable. and that you will only be in exchange with someone at an equal and valuable level that holds their worthiness, their beingness, their integrity, their energy at the same level and bar as you, which requires a personal refinement and attunement to choosing yourself. I choose me. Choosing what you desire. Choosing to put yourself first. Choosing to serve yourself first. And over time, this will help you become a very deeply, securely attached individual to yourself, to your soul, to your worthiness, to what you want. So that way you can actually evolve into what is known as an interdependent relationship. It's breaking codependency, not so you can just be in the societal narrative of a toxic, independent individual, which means I don't need anyone. I don't need nobody for nothing. But guess what, honey? This is not real because we all need each other. But can we relate and date in a way that is actually healthy, that is secure, that allows us to co-create something with another individual that can be greater than that which we can create on our own? And the sum creates a greater ripple for fulfillment, for pleasure, for love, for activation for both of us, and have the growth experience of co-creating something so absolutely extraordinary that we could never do on our own. But it requires you to choose yourself over and over and over again so that you can stabilize this in your mind, in your body, in your energy, in your nervous system, and in your way of being. This is an invitation for you to uncode this acceptance of breadcrumbs. Just accepting whatever someone gives you, accepting their excuses over trusting your intuition. This is about you tuning into what are your specific desires and claiming them as worthy. Letting go of the narrative that, wow, you've got too high standards, you're going to be left alone. Don't believe the scarcity narrative. It's just going to create a better filtration system for you. Have the high standards. Be flexible, but have high standards. Because that means you're raising the bar for yourself to meet your standard. And oftentimes raising our standard isn't about filtering it so the other person needs to show up and be a show and pony and dance to meet you in these standards. No, my loves. It's about you meeting you, how you want to be served, how you want to be showed up for emotionally, physically, sexually, in a relationship and a partnership, and then literally being that change with the person you see in the mirror, with the person that you wake up to every day in your bed, which is you. Knowing how good it feels for you to live at a higher standard, for you to know every day that if you have a desire through your heart, through your breath, through your pussy, through your mind, through your body, that it is worthy for you to pursue it. And that it is worthy for you to put a place for it on your calendar and make that as a priority, even if there's nothing going on that day. For you to know and to feel the awareness of dropping low-level behavior that you're doing and accepting this low-level behavior from yourself. And that happens because there's an object of interest, a man, a person, right? That you want, that you're drawn to. And so here comes that pattern in play. If you don't have something scheduled on your calendar and that person, let's say dating, has messaged you, I have a 24-hour rule, right? I do not accept dates that come to me less than 24 hours, just like I don't accept that from clients. It's across the board. Someone wants to see me, they've got to make that in advance, no less than 24 hours, and it needs to be solidified. Before I applied this rule and this way into being, I was feeling like shit. waiting for people to message me, feeling anxious about it, right? And I know you can relate to this because I talked to so many of my clients about this. This is a big learning that I had that I translate to everyone of like the real deep receivership code is not being on the waiting side or taking the initiative. It's receiving the invitation, receiving them messaging me and being like, hey, lovely to meet you, connect with you in that arena, and then pull back and rest and relax. But this is where so many women come into their masculine because they think they need to move the conversation forward. They need to push the conversation forward because sitting in the discomfort of what's going to happen next and the unknown drives this compulsive, codependent behavior of trying to move it forward, of ask these questions. You don't need to do that. Stop doing that, my love. Stop doing that. And I'm telling you from direct experience and knowing that used to be me. And I will tell you that the quality of people that I was getting were people that were not knowing how to make plans, were men that were not in their direction. They were not in their purpose. They were very flux and flow in their energy. And they were meeting me in my reciprocal because we always attract our reciprocal. So if I'm accepting a guy who's flighty, who's flow, who's short with his plans, who doesn't make any plans, and I'm accepting that, I'm accepting the breadcrumbs. I'm accepting the little things, the uncertainty and the unknown. And I'm sitting in my anxiety, wondering what's happening, trying to direct it. Well, then I deserve exactly what I get. I can't be mad at this guy, right? We can't be disappointed at these men because it's easier to blame them and be disappointed in them than it is to actually take dominion and ownership on like, holy fuck, this is actually my low level behavior. I'm accepting these breadcrumbs because that's what I'm thinking I'm worthy of. I'm the one entertaining this because I'm lonely and I'm bored and I want to fill my calendar. That's the low level behavior that I'm talking about. That's the codependency codes that need to be broken in order to date and relate differently. What does that actually look like? Right? If you want them to show up differently on dates, then you need to show up differently, even in the dating dialogue. It's you not accepting this kind of BS, and it's you not muting yourself. So remembering that every single date, and like I mentioned just a moment ago, remembering that every single date, every single relationship that you've had, you've chosen it consciously or unconsciously. You've chosen it from the set of standards that you've had coded into place within you. From that place, whether it's from a place of unworthiness or worthiness, that's for you to do a real reality check with yourself right now. And then once you recognize, and a majority of time you will realize, it's from a place of unworthiness because you don't know how to date and relate differently up until now. And that's my desire with this podcast, for you to recalibrate yourself so we can forgive ourselves for choosing these other partners, and we can forgive ourselves for having such low level standards for ourselves when it comes to relationship, right? And this can bring the lightness into your heart and the compassion for ourselves instead of being jaded or putting it onto the other person or previous partners. We can take the accountability for that. We can take the responsibility of that. We can forgive ourselves for being disappointed in ourselves and in others, and then let it go and just clear it and start fresh. See ourselves in our humanity and just start fresh. And then dating from a recoded place of worthiness, from secure attachment, really shifting this in your love life by living up to your own standards. And then the men you date will be dating from this new place of your higher standards. Choosing yourself as your first and best choice means that if someone is responding to you and you want to go on a date with someone and they haven't responded back to you, and you thought that they would say, hey, let's go on a date on Friday. This is on Monday. Cool. I'll reach out to you in a day or two and make a plan. You're like, awesome. You lean back. They message you. You don't hear from them on Tuesday. You don't hear from them on Wednesday. What are you doing? Are they taking up all of your brain space? Are you wondering Why haven't they messaged me? Why haven't they messaged me? Oh my God. Is it my photos? You start looking at your photos. Is it something that I said? Is it the vibe? You want to reach out to them? Maybe you even reach out to them and say, hey, I thought we were going to go on a date. No, this is not the thing to do. That's the codependency codes. Say they don't even reach out to you until Thursday. Say you didn't reach out to them either. And you're waiting. You're wasting energy waiting. You ain't got time for this, my loves. This is where you recode yourself with worthiness and you develop the discipline of redirecting your focus and your energy to you. You have so many dreams and aspirations that could use this energy, that could use this focus. Do not waste it on someone that you're not even in a relationship with. And even if you are in a relationship with them, don't waste your energy on wondering and pondering. When are they going to message you? What's going to happen? Right? Shift your state, dance, shake it out, acknowledge it, and then move on to something else that's going to light you up. Journal, dance, call a girlfriend, call a family member, call someone, do something that you know would light you up and redirect your energy. Use that energy towards your desire, your goals. Don't waste it, right? That's one step. Second step here, if that person does not reach out to you by Wednesday and start to be in a conversation on plans, do not think that by Friday, you're going to go out on a date with this person, right? Don't think you're going to go out on a date. You can have in your mind, maybe if they message me, maybe I'll be open and available. Maybe. That's the secure attachment, because you know that your life is so valuable, so magical, so fucking fun and powerful. Even if your calendar is not full, it doesn't need to be full, right? It doesn't matter. It's a matter of whatever you're doing is the best fucking thing that you could ever be doing. Because whatever you're doing is fucking awesome, because you're awesome. If your energy is in it, if you're choosing to do it, whether it's rest, bath, talk to a girlfriend, have a tea, journal, create, it's the best thing on the motherfucking planet that you could be doing. That's adopting and recoding inside of you. Oh, pussy priestess, what do you mean? I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting around. Like, I want to go on this date. I get you. And that's the low level behavior you're accepting from yourself, and that low level dialogue that gets to be reframed and recoded. That's what the most challenging piece of embodying first and best means, is that you're really working with your narrative. You're working with your attitude and your behavior, and it's shifting it. So no matter what you're doing, you're choosing to have fun because you're doing it with yourself. You're doing it because it's what you're called to do. And if that person doesn't message you by Thursday, or they message you on Thursday and they're like, hey, do you still want to hang out this weekend? Yeah, sure, I'd love to. And there's no plan. And then don't respond. And then they message you on Friday, hey, let's go out. What, are you still available? Do not say yes. The answer is no. I've already made plans. Do not be that available. The person that really wants to see you will respect your time, and you will train them how to talk to you, how to make plans, and you will train them to see, in a world full of people who do not value their time or plans, that you are a fucking gem, and you are in the 1% of the class of people who are consciously aware of how worthy and valuable their time is, that you respect your time, that you're not waiting around on people. They will show up in a whole new level of respect. And oftentimes when you tell them no, they're going to be shocked. They're going to say, what do you mean? I thought we had plans. Nope, I made other plans. I didn't hear from you. right? My life is busy. I got places to go, people to see, things to do for myself. That's anchoring in and recoding the worthiness piece. No longer just accepting low-level peace because it ticks off items on a box. Prioritize what you really want first. And if what you really want first is someone who makes plans, who takes a leadership role, you start from the very beginning and the jump of the conversation. It sets the foundation and the tone for everything. Being first and best choice means that your values are the top. You cherish and you treasure your own goals. You cherish and treasure your own love, your life, your friendships, that you know your energy is a precious resource, that you are focusing on only choosing aligned men, potential partners, opportunities that support the enrichment and the enhancement of the already fabulous life that you're creating. That you only want to be in a relationship by design, not by default. And this is where you get to contemplate your own shadows here and decide and create for yourself. What are my top values in how someone shows up? Great. Let me be that. Let me align with that. What do I need to be on the receptive and the receiving side of that? Act and behave accordingly. Right? What are my top values in relationship? Let me be that, and let me align with someone who also shares these top values. I value love and connection. I value contribution. I value personal growth and development. These are non-negotiable top pieces. If someone values play and partying as a top piece right now, that is absolutely not in alignment with my life. And that's what creates a better filtration system for you. If I value someone who wants to bring me the full fucking loaf and is excited to show up with a fresh loaf of bread versus someone who's like just giving me crumbs, that's again, am I aligning with, yeah, I'm going to just accept what they're going to give me and that's cool and that's my level of standard? Or am I choosing to up the level of standard where I'm like, no, I want a French man from France to bake me a fresh loaf of bread and get on a plane and hand deliver it to my doorstep and give it to me and cut the loaf and sit down with me and enjoy it. That's a way higher level of clarified manifestation specificity. And again, it's not about the actual physical manifestation, although yes, that has happened for me, but it's more about the quality of the experience and the connection and the way that it is showing up, of which you won't accept anything less than. And that is your radical responsibility. What do you like doing? That's what you need to also get clear on. How do you actually want to spend your time? What authentically brings you joy? In codependent relationships, we'll tend to put aside the things that we love doing and that light us up and bring us joy and sacrifice it in order to meet our partner's needs or do what the thing is that they want to do. So let's say, as an example, you love going on walks, but your partner doesn't like going on walks. So now suddenly you don't go on walks because your partner doesn't want to do it. Let's say you love watching comedy or silly movies, or you love going out to eat, right? Say that there are things that you love doing and your partner doesn't like doing those things. Do you just ignore them and just choose to watch sports at home and sit on the couch because you're trying to spend time with your partner doing the thing that he wants to do, but it's really not hitting home for you? You're genuinely not lit up by it. You genuinely don't feel connected to your partner or this activity. Again, that's you trying to please. That's you putting his desires on a pedestal in front of yours. So the invitation is to find out, what do you really love doing so that you can invite them to do those things with you as they invite you to do those things. And a healthy relationship, one that is interdependent, wants you to have your own passion, your own hobbies, your own joys that light you up because they know that you bring that to the relationship. It keeps it different. It keeps their variety. And you could bring them into other things that they wouldn't want to do or wouldn't normally do. And there are certain things that maybe you guys don't cross over on. That's okay, but it's still important to you. The key piece is to not let go of the things that are really important to you, my loves. And I can't tell you over and over and over again how many times I coach my women clients on this. What authentically brings you joy in a relationship in your life? And what you can do is ask yourself this question when you're in these relationship dating and relating and they ask you to do things or you are feeling into it. Ask yourself the question, is this really serving me? Right? Your values, your standards. Is this really serving me? Redirect from just doing the cool things, right? And really be the difference. From there, if it's serving you, go ahead. If it's not serving your standards and values, don't do it. And vulnerably show up as yourself. Be true to yourself, right? Remember that no matter what, whether this date happens or this date doesn't happen, it is not a reflection of your worthiness. And it does not mean that you are losing love. Because remember, no matter what, there is no timeline where you lose love for yourself. No matter what, there's no timeline that you are not in the pure energy of desire. It is in your DNA. It is what you're born. It is who you are. You are love. You are the energy of desire and light. And if you forget who you are, do the mirror work. Go back into that. Because you can have a radically different experience in dating if you use dating and relating as a vehicle to help you learn more about who you're being and who you desire to be. Dating and relating as a vehicle to understand yourself more deeply, how you actually want to be in a relationship, the type of partner you want to be, the quality and the fulfillment of the type of relationship that you desire to have. And with the secure attachment, there's no rush. You don't need to know where things are going right away because you're not attached to the outcome. You're not attached to needing something from this. It's just for fun. It's in an inquiry. And yes, you can have a desire for a long-term relationship, to get married, to have children. Absolutely. You can still hold that desire. But from a secure, attached place of knowing that you're worthy and deserving of these desires, and you're going to have it either way. So have fun and pleasure with the process. Retrain and code your nervous system to one of receiving and relaxation, where these are all experiences for you to taste the spice and the variety of the masculine energy, just like cooking. Taste the spices and see what ingredients you want in the soup of your relationship. Because over-consuming makes you sick, makes you confused, and you may not actually like what you're eating, right? So in your relationship soup, make sure it's to your liking. Make sure it's to your tasting. Take some time to slow down, to play with the ingredients, to cook it up, to clean and clear your energy. And stop wasting your time on fantasy and BS and intentionally create your ideal reality and relationship by showing up as the first and best choice, relaxing, knowing that what you want truly does want you, but it doesn't want you in an anxious, frenetic, penetrative space. It wants you in your true, fulfilled, overflowing, relaxed nature. It wants to pursue you. It wants to meet you. But you've got to meet yourself first. Choose yourself. Raise your standards. And when you find yourself in those situations of not knowing what to do, ask yourself that question: does this serve me? Reaffirm, I am choosing me, not my story, not my fears, not my checklist. I am choosing my dreams. I am choosing my value. I am choosing my worthiness. I am choosing my high level way of being and relating, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it creates more space in my calendar, even if that means that I don't have a date on a Friday night or a Saturday night, even if that means that I'm experiencing the emptiness, because that is better than choosing the latter, because you know where that's gotten you and it hasn't given you the results that you truly desire. So take these keys, take this information, and take this transmission as a way to recode your nervous system so that your relationships can get better and better and better. You hold the key, my loves. Remember, you are always your first and best choice.